Hey there, welcome back to Hematite Homestead, and I'm doing something I have never, ever done before. Very first time. Check it out. All right, I am making cutting boards, and the cool thing about these cutting boards is I'm using wood that was sawed right over there at the sawmill, my brother's sawmill over there. And first time ever, it was started off as an experiment, and I'm trying to pump out a bunch of these for Christmas gifts now. So, I'm using table saw, nothing fancy, miter saw, and an edge planer. I didn't start off using the edge planer, but I was having trouble getting nice flat straight glue edges on these things, so I went to my brother's house and borrowed this from him, and then I'm also planing them. So here's a couple that I glued up last night. And these are ready to scrape the glue off and run through the planer a few times and finish them out. So I've been using a combination of different woods. I got mostly cherry and walnut, and this board here is only cherry and walnut. And I got one in the house that we've already started finishing that is cherry and walnut. Then this one's got some white oak in it and some ash and some cherry and walnut. And same thing for this one. I got one mocked up on the board here. I was going to put this together just like this, but thinking about it overnight, I decided I didn't like this big piece. And I'm going to run this through the table saw and cut it up into little pieces and then mix all these together. And probably add a few other pieces of walnut in it. All right, I just cut this cherry up into about 1.1 pieces. And then I cut a few that are really narrow I want to use for accent pieces. And I thought that was all on camera, and I didn't have the camera turned on. So after I cut all that up, then I put my saw blade back down in the saw, and I run my guide all the way over the edge, and that gives me a nice flat working surface and a straight edge where I can mock this up. And I'm just going to go through here and mix up all these boards until I like what I got. And one more piece of walnut in here. This is probably going to be too wide. This should be okay. Right now it's 12 1/4, and after I go through and plane some of these edges where I got a little bit of work to do on some of these glued edges, then it'll shrink up a little bit. I can't have it more than 12 1/2 because my planer will only handle 12 1/2. On all the other boards I made so far, I'd use this part of the walnut, but on this board I wanted to use this part, so I'm going to use the glued edge here. And this has already been through my edger. And I'll slap this right in here. All right. Here's what I got. A mixture of ash and oak and cherry and walnut. And I think I like the way I got this set up. So now I'm going to go through and get all the plane edges on here. I got about 12 1/4 right now, and by the time I plane some of these edges off, it'll shrink down a little bit, and that's okay. And I've already got these numbered where I had it mocked up last night. I'll ignore those and I'll number them again so that I put it back together the way that I like it. So these are a little taller, but the reason it's just thickness is because that's the thickness that I had the walnut boards. I've been running the cherries this way on most of the other boards too, but these will be like this. And I gotta be careful not to get knots in there. That'll be hard to plane out. I'll put the knot on the bottom where I'm not that much concerned about it. What'll happen there on that, oh yeah, I remember I did want to use that anyway. what'll happen on that knot is if it picks a hole in it while you're planing it, it'll just keep digging, and you need the surface to be as smooth as possible, because we're going to seal this with mineral oil to keep moisture out of it and keep food pieces and bits and blood and whatnot out of it. So I think I like this. I'm going to take each one of these pieces and run them through the edge planer, make sure that I got good glue edges, and then I will number it and we'll glue it up. All right, this is ready to go. And I had this little piece down inside of here, and it's not much left that I can edge plane on that, and it wasn't doing real great on this side, so I decided to put that on the outside, and that's okay because I'll sand that up and finish that up when we get done. And yeah, I think I like it. So I'm going to go through here and number all these and set it off to the side and glue it in a few minutes. The other thing I was going to mention was that I started off at like 12 1/4, and then by the time I edge planed all the boards to get good gluing surfaces, now I'm down to about 11 1/4, and that's okay. And I don't worry about these edges here. I try and get me one good straight edge, but both of these sides will get trimmed up after we finish the board. So I'm going to number these and set it off to the side and get started on another one. All right, I got my planer set up, and I'm going to go through this board right here, and I'm just going to take a razor blade and peel off all this glue. You definitely do not want this glue running through your planer like that. It'll stop up into the blades. The biggest thing gave me an idea to do cutting boards was I want to get in the farmers markets next year in spring, and we're not really prepared for, we won't have our meat burgers. We're not going to start them until earlier next year. They probably won't be ready, and won't have any pork products until next winter. I think we're planning on starting that venture. Right now, my current plan is the first weekend of December next year. We'll harvest a couple of our meat eaters out there and make some pork products. We're about a year away from that, probably. Anyway, I thought a cutting board would be a cool little item to get us in the farmers markets. They're going to be branded with their farm logo. And I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but this was pretty much a big experiment to try and see if I could do it. And these are going to all go to homes for Christmas, except for this one maybe. This is so far my favorite one. I might have a hard time letting go of this one. So I'll run this through the planer very slowly, just a little bit at a time. My goal will be that they've got a little bit different depths in each of them. My goal will be to just shave barely on the one that's the smallest. And you can see here where it's all different depths in here. And it looks like right in here is probably where I'm going to be shooting for. Get a nice wood grain on all the pieces. And then we'll sand it a couple times. I sanded it with 120 grit paper, and then I went back with 220 at the end. And I ran a hand planer around the edges on the one we did on the inside. A little bit of care for boards is you never want to put them in a dishwasher. You don't want to submerge them completely in water. And don't even use soap on them. And definitely no bleaches or cleaners like that. I think a good rule of thumb for a cutting board is if you don't want to eat it, don't put it on your cutting board. So you get water as hot as you can stand it with a washcloth and just wash it off. And about once a month, give it a little dose of, we're using mineral oil on these, but there's lots of options. I actually want to do the beeswax stuff, but it wasn't something that I knew enough about or could throw together at the last minute like I did all this stuff. All right, this is the handle that controls this, and I usually, this little part right here, you kind of use it for a guide. and that's where I'll try and start on it. So, and I'll run it right along the edge here. So let's get this thing through here. All right, I've got down the wood grain on all the boards. And I got a few spots I'm a little concerned about. Right here, I got a little gap here. That might get trimmed off when I trim off this edge. And then over here, I got a little gap here. It's about an inch or so long. Don't know what to do about that. And then we started tearing it up down here a little bit. I think I can sand all that out. Same thing here. And it got into a knot up here and it's trying to pull it out. So I think I can sand all that down. So not perfect, but nice for a homemade project.